Ladies and gentlemen, Sophia Flörschch is a German racing driver who most recently competed in the FIA Formula 3 with PHM Racing by Charouz. But she has a dream. She wants to be the first woman competing in Formula 1. And I'm pretty sure she will reach that dream. Because with the age of 4, she started kart racing. With only 9 years, she became European champion in easy kart. And by the age of 10, she competed in PH9 at the World Finals. Throughout her career, she raced in the DTM, the FIA World Endurance Championship, and is podium finisher in the ADAC Formula 4. And the ELMS, as well as the youngest race winner of the Ginetta Junior Championship. She's also the very first woman scoring points in the FIA F3. Please welcome with me on stage, Sophia Flörschch.
Thank you very much.
Take a seat. So, Sophia, we have to let everyone know that you're only 22 years old, and with your age, you've already reached so many things. How do you set goals right, and how do you achieve the highest possible outcome?
Well, first of all, hello everyone. So, my goal, or let's say when I was younger, when I started karting when I was 4 years old, my dream was always to reach Formula 1, because I watched F1 on TV, obviously, when Michael Schumacher had his comeback. He was my idol when I started with karting. At some point it was Sebastian Vettel, but that was always where I wanted to be. And over the years, the older you get, the more serious everything gets. It got from a dream to a goal, actually, and still now being 22, racing in Formula 3. This is my goal, to reach F1, hopefully in the next 3-4 years. But obviously to reach that high goal, there needs to be many small goals in between. And to be honest, I'm trying to look from week to week. Last weekend we had the last race of this season in FI3, so this one is done. Now in 3 weeks we have the official test days for next year, and that's going to be my next goal, to be as good prepared as possible for this one. So I think it's more about reaching the small goals in between to finally get to the big one.
Okay, that's very helpful. What can the mobility industry learn from your sports?
Well, I think every single industry can learn from sports in general. I think it's more about reaching small goals, working as a team together. I mean, similar in our sport, obviously I'm alone in a race car. I'm let's say it's just a car and me. But behind me, there's a whole team of engineers, of mechanics, of team managers, etc., who work super hard day in, day out to make the car as good as possible. So it's a team sport as well, and I think that's the same in companies, in every single industry in the end, that you need more people working together to reach the ultimate goal. And I think that's something, the industry can probably learn from sports in general.
So you just told me backstage that a couple years ago you had a really bad injury, and so what keeps you motivated? Where do you draw the motivation from, and also how do you manage to leave fear behind?
So I think the worst question is always, are you scared when you go into a race car? Because the answer is always no. In the end, I do the sport because I love it. I started the sport because it was my passion, because it gives me the best feeling in the whole world when I'm in the race car on a racetrack, and no one, I know it stings me, so everyone, I'm doing it because I love it, So that's my motivation in the end. And even 2018, I had a bigger crash where I had two bones in my spinal column were broken, and I had a surgery and so on and so on. But still, I came back just because my love for the sport and my big goal is that what I want to reach, and I've worked now 18 years for it, and I don't want to give up just because I had a crash. I think that's the difference. I'm doing it because of the love for the sport and the passion.
So the whole industry itself faces really big challenges right now. What would you say is the best driver and motivator for change, to overcome these challenges? Is it fear? Is it anger? Is it joy? Where can we draw the motivation to change from?
I think it's joy. I think it's fun. I think you need to be open-minded. First of all, for change, you need to be, you need to welcome new things and work together with different people to, let's say, open your eyes and your mind a little bit more. I think fear is definitely not the right thing for change. I think with fear you cannot really work good, in my opinion. At least that's what I discovered, or like what I think is in my sport. So I think it's more about passion and really having goals and being motivated. Surround yourself with people who have the same goals or similar goals or interests to reach higher steps and higher bigger things.
We also earlier just talked about the fact that you are a woman in a male-dominated industry. What do you think can the IAA do in order to help women's voices being heard more?
I think in the end it's more about giving women the same opportunities, giving girls the same opportunities, and just showing them. I think also, in my sport, obviously, as a racing driver, there's still not enough women. We still need more girls starting with karting. We still need more women, obviously, going higher up the ranks. But there is already engineers, mechanics, and so on, also in really high positions in Formula One. In Silverstone some weeks ago on the Formula One race, I had a panel talk with like 4 engineers who are all females. And we were talking about like the challenges obviously you have to overcome as a woman in a male-dominated sport. But in the end, they also said, I was in school, I was in university, I also studied, but I was good, so that's why I'm here. I'm not here because I'm a woman. I'm here because my performance is good,
yes,
and because this is always what I wanted to do. And I think that's still really important to point out that, at least for me, being a woman, I want to be there because I'm good and I'm as good or better as the men, and not because I'm a woman. And I think that's the same for most of the women in male-dominated sports or industries, and also the car industry. But then, if they are good enough, you need to give them the chances, and you need to be fair and also place women there. And I think that's still what can be improved, let's say it like this.
So the mobility industry has to deal with a lot of preconceptions, like a lot of prejudice. As, for example, greenwashing, lobbying. There are a lot of big words that we always say towards the mobility industry. Is there anything that you deal with, like any prejudice that you deal with in your sport?
Yes, definitely. First of all, it is still a male-dominated sport, so many men don't accept still women to be there. I think our sport, or my sport, is more behind than the economics in general. I think we still have a lot more room for improvement there. There's example. When I was 14, I was racing in England, actually at the Junior Championship, where you said before that I was the first woman winning races. And I was fighting for the championship with my teammate, who was also, I think, 15 at that time. And I remember after one race, I actually finished on the podium, and I was like on a golf buggy with the other driver, my teammate, and his dad. And his dad was like, I was 14 at the time, but so his dad was like, yeah, why are you actually doing the sport? And I was like, well, because I want to get to Formula One, because I love it. And he was like, yeah, but you're a woman, you will never make it.
Wow.
And hearing this when you're like 14, and from a man who's like as old as your dad, you're like, okay, what did I do to you? It's like, what did I do to you, and why are you telling me this? But in the end, I think it's more about turning those negative things around and like those prejudices to get them to motivate you and to prove them, hey, yes, I'm a woman, yes, I have long blonde hair, and yes, I have makeup in my face, but I'm still better than your son, and I'm winning against him, Mm-hmm. And I think this is important, and I think this is also what young girls and women in the industry need to turn around to actually, make it push them more, Yeah.
That's a crazy story, because just hearing that from a grown man is wild. But I know that we're talking a lot about men, women, and I know that when we talk backstage, you were like, you don't want to be you don't want to be here just because you're Roman, you're here because you're good. And also, this is a sport where women and men can be equally good because it doesn't have anything to do with like physics or physical like preposition or anything. But still, what is something that women can bring to the mobility industry in general that maybe is lacking until now?
So talking about my sport, I think it's important to prove the outside world that there's no difference. I mean, you, as a woman, you are not good enough, or it's just not the same to race downhill in skiing or so. You know, Lindsay once tried it, but she failed because it's just not possible gender-wise. But in our sport, it doesn't matter if you're a man or woman in the car, you're just a driver with a helmet on wanting to win. And it doesn't matter on the gender. And I think that's also what I'm trying to push, because in university, you're also studying together because it is possible. And in our sport, it is possible as well. So I don't understand, I don't know, series now which get created just for women when it's not needed in the end. I think, so that's just what is, mattering to me, let's say. And then what was your question? I forgot it.
Is there something that women can bring to the mobility industry then?
I'm not too sure. I think, to be honest, maybe women are a little bit more open-minded. Maybe they have some different approaches to different things compared to men. But I don't really think women can do something a lot better than men, or men can do something a lot better than women. I think in the end it just matters about, I don't know, if you studied or went through the same, let's say, school, or let's say in our sport, the same series and teams and so on. But it doesn't really, I don't think that one gender can do something a lot better than the other, just because female or male.
Thank you for the applause. So we've heard about so many things that you have accomplished in your career. Was there a specific moment where you realized, okay, this might be something that I really can do to earn money, or that might be a career option for me?
So, well, I mean, I started karting when I was 4, so when you're like 4, 5, 6, 7, it's something you love and you have a passion for. It's a hobby, like, I don't know, going on a tennis court next door and playing tennis. For me, it was always like, this is cool, this is why I'm doing it. But the older I got, the more serious it got, obviously. And then when I was 14, I stepped into cars. So that was when I did Ginetta's in England. And, you know, when on karting events, there's, I don't know, yourself, maybe the parents and the siblings of the drivers, but there's no real spectators or fans. But when I did my first year in Ginetta, it was on the same weekend like the British Touring Car Championship. So we had like 80,000 people there, like 5 rows on the fences. There was fans, there were people wanting autographs. So when I was 14, I had to get my own autograph. And I was like, what the hell am I doing? So I just did SF. So it's like it's a complete switch. And that's also when it gets more serious, because in my case, I needed sponsors, I needed partners who, let's say, believed in me and in my story, and who made it possible for me to go racing. So I think at that point also, let's say, the hobby and the dream of reaching Formula 1 turned into like a job and the proper goal, working hard day in, day out to actually also reach that goal and make myself as good as prepared as possible.
That's actually a very interesting point. I don't know how many of you were aware of the fact that it's actually super expensive sports to be in, because we just talked about it, that you actually need sponsors, you need people that enable you to be there, and it's very, it's not easy to have access to that sport if you don't have the financial funds. Can you tell us something more about that?
Yeah, I think many people actually don't know that you are, as a driver, you are paying. For that reason, there's many rich families and rich kids, let's say, or drivers who just don't need sponsors or partners because they have it from their family background, which is obviously super nice for them. But I don't have it in my case. So already when I was 14, I was calling companies asking if they could sponsor me. Obviously, it was smaller budgets than I need now, but still, my parents made me call them to also get a feeling for the money I'm actually needing to do my sport, you know. And 90% I got a no, but at some point I also got a yes. So, Formula 3, Formula 2, you have every single driver paying to be racing there. And in my case, I need companies who believe in me, who go with me over the years to reach the goal. Yeah.
You told us that it's a whole team involved of engineers and people making it possible for you to be able to drive. Can you tell us more about your experiences with like female engineers? Are there a lot? Are there barely any?
So there are women engineers, especially in the paddock, not just in junior classes, but also in F1, as I said. So, funnily, the women in Silverstone, like on the panels, 2 of them were like the head of strategists in Formula One teams. So the one was actually from Red Bull and the other one from Alfa Romeo, and they are the ones deciding the strategy in the races. But they don't get enough publicity, in my opinion, so that young girls actually see that you can do it as well, you know? But in the end, I mean, in 2021, when I was racing DTM, I actually had a female engineer, and she was, I would say, the exact same like me. She also said, I'm just an engineer. I just want to do my job. I don't want, let's say, any media attention or anything. I just want to perform the same as my mates as well, let's say. But in working, there's no real difference, I think. Like we get along, we work together, we want to win, and yeah, there's no difference.
Yeah. I think that's a very important point, because I think that some people think it's so different, it's like it can't be equal, but that's the main point, that there shouldn't be a difference, and there's no difference. Yeah. So we have completely reinvented ourselves as a platform, the IAA. How do you best approach new things in your job?
Well, I think, as I said before a little bit, it's really about being open-minded. You know, in my sport, there's many new things every single day, or test day, or race weekend. You have to be open for new challenges. You know, I don't know, when I go to a new track or so, obviously nowadays we have the simulator to prepare for, where we're spending a lot of time actually to be as prepared as possible. Obviously, then there's also always the team, the engineers who you can talk to, who prepare you for new challenges. I don't know, if I'm like, now I did Formula 3, if by any chance I would try to do F2 next year, it's a new car for me, so I need to be as good as prepared as possible when I'm first in that car driving. So, I don't know, I get data from my team, I watch videos from the past years, and I just try to be open for the new challenge. And I think that's also what like the industry needs to focus on, to actually be happy about new things and to look forward to them and try to maximize the preparation for something new, you know. And I think many people are scared of new things, and they're like, yeah, no, I want to be in my bubble, which I've stayed in the last 10 years, and I don't want to get better or something. And I think this is a little bit what we all need to work on.
So you pretty much already answered my next question that I was going to ask. But coming to the question after that one, what dimensions does innovation have for you, like on a personal and also a professional level?
So innovation and technical knowledge, let's say, is everything in our sport. The better a team is, the more knowledge a team has in our sport. You know, F1 is a good example. If you compare, I don't know, Red Bull nowadays to Williams or Haas, it's not that like Red Bull, and it comes down to details in the end. So, yeah, I have to be open about it. I have to be open for innovation in general. I mean, also, you know, I know 8 years ago we just had normal cars. Then Formula E came. It was like the first electric racing series, and I think every single racing driver is open for it. We all say we are completely open for every single car we're racing, as long as it's good racing and fair racing, where we're all fine with it, you know. Then, I don't know, now a really big thing for us is biofuels, e-fuels. So last year I did 24 hours of Le Mans for the 3rd time. And last year was the first year that all 64 cars actually had 100% biofuels. Okay. It's not enough communicated. Not many people actually know it, but I think that's like something we're all open to. And for us drivers, it didn't really change anything because the car was working the same. It was, I think, more work for the engineers to, let's say, gather new data, because like the engines were working a little bit different with it, and we were consuming more fuel than the years before. But still, innovation is super important to our sport, and I think also for the whole mobility industry in the end, because many things got tested in our sport before it actually then went into road cars like ABS and so on. It's always first tested in racing cars because you're obviously racing on the limit and trying things on the limit before it then goes into normal road cars.
Are there any technical innovations that you're testing right now?
Well, all the thing about sustainable fuel and biofuels is getting tested. I mean, Formula One has like the big goal to be net zero in 2030. So in 7 years from now, I think from 26 onwards, they're already going to race with like 100% biofuels. And we, Formula 3, are already racing with 60%. And I think this is like the biggest change, let's say, in our bubble right now and where we're dealing with right now most.
Okay. I mean, you've talked about so many technical changes that are happening right now in your industry. Does that affect your job in a day-to-day life, or?
No, it doesn't affect it at all. I think most important is to be open about it, to take on new challenges. I mean, in 21 when I did DTM, actually, I had Scheffler as my main partner, and they were, or they still are, developing the steer-by-wire system, which is also, like 2 years ago, it was like a big thing. And I was one of 2 cars or 3 cars in DTM driving with that system. And I also had to be, and I was open for the system, and I was racing with it for half a year, and we were developing it together to make it even better. And I think every single year there will be new challenges, which sometimes are working really good, and sometimes they need a little bit more attention to be improved. But I think in the end you always have to go with it and enjoy working with those things. Yeah.
So very last question, what technical innovations would you like to see in your industry?
Well, to be honest, we'll see. I mean, all the electric cars will probably, still need a lot more improvement over the next years. There's many things which still companies and obviously also our sport are working on. I think really biofuels is going to be more, let's say, the focus in the short term for the next 5, 6, 7, 8 years. And also, in my opinion, a really good option to move on and to go with. So, I think those things will be more improved, and we'll see and go from there then.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for taking the time. I think it was really interesting to listen to you and so inspiring to watch your career from afar. Thank you for giving us an insight, and let's give it up one more time for Sophia Flörschch.
Thank you.
So thank you so much, Jenny and Sophia, for this great inspiration.